The Eiffel Tower is facing a new threat, which might be its most dangerous yet. This iconic landmark has weathered an occupation, 2 world wars, and even the looming threat of demolition in 1903. But now its greatest enemy is something far more insidious: rust. For over a century, the Eiffel Tower has stood tall against the elements, battling the relentless wind and rain of Paris. But today, that battle may be slipping out of its favor. Join us as we dive into the $64 million fight to save this beloved monument. The Eiffel Tower was never meant to last this long. Originally designed as a temporary structure for the 1889 World's Fair, it was supposed to grace the Paris skyline for just 20 years before being dismantled. Fast forward 135 years, and not only is the Eiffel Tower still standing, but it has become one of the most beloved and iconic landmarks in the world. However, time is catching up with this Parisian symbol of love. The Eiffel Tower is showing its age, and without a full renovation, it's at risk of crumbling. Originally, the tower was to be repainted every 7 years, but the last restoration was delayed by the pandemic. Now, a $64 million repaint is underway, just in time to make the tower shine again for the 2024 Paris Olympics. But not everyone is convinced that this $64 million repaint will do the trick. Some experts are calling it nothing more than a cosmetic touch-up, arguing that it doesn't tackle the serious rust issues plaguing the tower. In fact, a confidential report leaked to French magazine Marianne revealed that one unnamed manager claimed Gustave Eiffel himself would have had a heart attack if he saw the tower today. Eiffel knew rust would be a challenge and had plans to combat it, but his first hurdle was convincing Parisians not to tear the tower down in the first place. In the 1880s, Paris was gearing up to host the World's Fair, and the city wanted to make a statement. It was the 100th anniversary of the French Revolution, and they needed something truly spectacular to showcase the brilliance of French engineering. This was the era known as La Belle Époque, a time when innovation was booming, confidence was soaring, and both personal and national wealth were on the rise. It felt like there was nothing engineers couldn't accomplish, and Paris was ready to show the world just how far they could go. Gustave Eiffel secured his place in history by winning a competition to design a dazzling new monument for Paris. His vision, a 1,000-foot tower that would easily surpass the tallest structure at the time, the Washington Monument. Before this, the tallest structures in the world were all churches and pyramids. But the Eiffel Tower was different. It was groundbreaking. When it was completed, it stood as the tallest man-made structure on Earth at 1,000 feet, or 300 meters, and held that record for an impressive 40 years. Gustave Eiffel's name is now forever linked with the iconic tower, but he was also one of the most brilliant engineers of the 19th century. His impressive portfolio includes masterpieces like the Porto Viaduct and the Statue of Liberty. When it came to designing the Eiffel Tower, Eiffel pushed his engineering concepts to new heights, literally. One of his biggest challenges was figuring out how to construct a tower that tall without it being unbearably heavy. The Washington Monument, for example, kept sinking into the ground due to the immense weight of its marble and granite. Eiffel had to think outside the box to avoid a similar fate. Eiffel cracked the code by constructing his tower out of iron, a material that was both lightweight and incredibly strong. The result? A structure that looked like it was plucked straight from a Jules Verne novel, a towering pylon with 4 latticework girders converging at the top. To make the design more appealing to the public, architect Stephen Souvestre was brought in to refine it. He added the stonework legs, the elegant arches connecting the columns to the first levels, and the bulb-like crown that tops off the tower. It's important to note that the original concept for the Eiffel Tower wasn't solely Gustave Eiffel's idea. 2 of his employees, Maurice Coquelin and Émile Nouguier, came up with the initial design during their own time for the 1889 exposition. They presented their drawings to Eiffel, who then brought in Stephen Souvestre to enhance the aesthetic of their engineering solutions for such a tall tower. Since nothing like this had ever been built before, Eiffel had to carefully consider how the structure would withstand the enormous wind pressures at various heights. One of the most impressive aspects of Eiffel's design is its wind resistance. He drew inspiration from nature, comparing his design to the great trees like oaks, where the trunk widens as it approaches the roots. The tower's distinctive curves are a result of Eiffel's precise mathematical equations, aimed at creating the most wind-resistant shape possible. If the tower had been built with a straight design, it would have swayed dangerously. Instead, this clever design channels the wind downward, and the lattice structure distributes the loads evenly, keeping the tower stable even in strong winds. Today, engineers would use computer models to test these calculations before construction. But back then, Eiffel was working with just his theories. The stakes were high. 2 years of work and the modern equivalent of 37 million were on the line. Construction of the Eiffel Tower kicked off on July 1, 1887. While the Washington Monument took decades to complete, the Eiffel Tower was finished in just 22 months, a remarkable feat of efficiency. With a relatively small team of around 200 steelworkers, plus groups of painters, the project moved swiftly. Eiffel employed ingenious crane techniques designed to climb the tower's sides on lift rails as the structure soared higher and higher. It was a brilliantly orchestrated effort that brought this iconic monument to life in record time. The Eiffel Tower wasn't built on site. Every component was crafted in Eiffel's factories on the outskirts of Paris. Each of the 18,000 pieces was then transported to the Champ de Mars and assembled with precision, down to 1/10 of a millimeter, like an enormous Lego set. At one point, up to 300 workers were on site, using small steam cranes and scaffolding to piece together the tower. Over 2.5 million rivets held it all in place. On December 7, 1887, all 4 girders converged in the middle and began their vertical climb into the sky. The tower was then coated with 4 layers of red lead paint, giving it an appearance more akin to the Golden Gate Bridge than the bronze we see today. With its completion, the Eiffel Tower became the tallest structure on Earth and a modern marvel. The Eiffel Tower wasn't exactly welcomed with open arms. The French, known for their sharp critiques, didn't hold back. The tower was derisively called a tragic street lamp, a half-built factory pipe, and was deemed incomplete and deformed. Despite this backlash, Gustave Eiffel went to great lengths to defend his creation, arguing that there was beauty in its engineering. Slowly, public opinion started to shift. By the time the tower opened in 1889, it attracted 2 million visitors in just the first 6 months. Clearly, it was far from an unwelcome addition. Instead, it rapidly became a global icon. The Eiffel Tower was originally slated for demolition after just 20 years, and by 1903, serious plans were in motion to take it down. To rescue the tower from this fate, Gustave Eiffel invested in various scientific projects, from meteorological research to wireless telegraphy. The tower even caught the attention of the military when it was found to be capable of long-distance signal transmission and reception. These innovative uses played a crucial role in preserving the tower, and it continues to be vital for television and radio broadcasts today. After years of dedication, Eiffel could only hope that future generations would care for his monument as he did. However, recent reports have revealed some alarming issues. A 2010 report recommended that the tower's operating company overhaul its maintenance approach. By 2014, cracks and rust were found throughout the structure, with only 10% of the new paint sticking properly. The 2016 report uncovered 885 faults, 68 of which were serious enough to threaten the tower's stability. Plans were in place to strip and repaint 1/3 of the Eiffel Tower, but due to pandemic-related delays and troubling levels of lead in the old paint, only 5% of the tower has been treated so far. Experts are concerned that this $64 million repaint might worsen existing defects and lead to increased corrosion. With the Eiffel Tower drawing around 7 million visitors and generating nearly 100 million euros annually, the operating company is reluctant to shut it down for extended periods, even though maintenance costs often surpass its revenue. Painting the Eiffel Tower is no simple feat. It's done much like it was 135 years ago. Painters use scaffolding or rappel down the sides of the structure. They strip off old paint, clean the surface, apply rust-proofing, and then add a fresh coat. Built from puddle iron, a material theoretically capable of lasting forever if properly maintained, the tower's preservation depends on preventing rust. If this multi-million-dollar repaint turns out to be just a temporary fix, it will be up to future Parisians to ensure the monument's long-term integrity. The Eiffel Tower is more than just a marvel of engineering. It's become a global icon, transcending its bolts and beams. It's not merely an observation deck or a relic from an old world exhibition. It's one of the most recognizable landmarks on the planet. Gustav Eiffel has certainly had the last laugh with his critics. His vision has proven to hold a timeless and extraordinary beauty. Eiffel would be overjoyed to see his creation still standing strong after all these years, feeling vindicated by the lasting legacy he left behind. It would be a profound sorrow if someday the tower had to be taken down for safety reasons. As always, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.